always right when the red light goes on, I'm like, oh, now I got something in my mouth.
Hey, dude, it is all good. I'm usually mid cough or got my finger up my nose or doing some coke or whatever.
Oh man, that's one of the things I caught in the middle of the night last night. They run the uh, Doc and Daryl 30 for 30. So this is going up the baseline.
There's a kid back in the day. There was a group of players for Liverpool in England, and they called them the what did they call them, man? The Spice Boys, because they were like a lot of them were young and they were famous, and it was right around that time, mid to late '90s, and they were pretty famous for their nightlife. There was a striker named Robbie Fowler. He was one of the main dudes. I used to be able to tell you who they were. It was like him and Jason McAteer and actually now I don't remember. Dadgum, dude. McManaman and who's the other one I can't think of, man? His dad's the coach. I'm sorry, it'll come to me in a second, man. But anyway, they got in trouble for their nightlife. And there's a picture. It's super famous, man. Of Robbie Fowler scored a goal one time, and he dropped to his knees and like started snorting the line. Man, seriously, it's kind of an F you to the papers, but it turned out it was true.
Yeah.
Oh crap, man.
You're not helping us out, bro.
God, no kidding. It's like, yeah, that picture's not gonna only last till the end of time now.
That is most of those 30 for 30s for me kind of end up being kind of this. It's kind of the same thing. You kind of tune in and see like, oh, this guy didn't look nearly as bad as I thought he would, or oh man, he looks bad. Had that because there's a few times. I'm Jared, by the way, in case
I forget. Man, it's good to be here. Thank you, brother.
Daryl actually shows up because it's kind of two different things. You have the one-on-one interview with them talking to the camera, telling you the story of how it got to this, and then they have the sit-down meet up where they're just kind of kicking it. That part, to me, they both. I couldn't tell if Doc was coming off of something or what, but he still looked kind of like super skinny. He's like, oh man, Doc don't look so good. He looked good for his little sit down one-on-one interview with the camera, but when they were like there together, I was like, man, is Doc on it right now? Because I can't tell. But there's a few parts of the story where they're catching up with Doc and he's doing his rehabilitation stuff. He's like, man, I just didn't realize how close that we were to losing him because he looked like he was about dead.
Yeah, man. The Doc and Daryl.
Good story is what I'm trying to get. It's what I'm trying to get at.
The Doc and Daryl 30 for 30 irks me a bit, only because I mean, let me just be blunt. If both these cats aren't black, you're not telling that story. And the reason I say that is, why isn't Dykstra in there? Lenny did more coke than the two of them put together, and he was right there on the same team as them. But my frustration is there is a fantastic documentary to be made about Doc and Daryl, and it's about these two kids that playing for the Mets took over New York baseball. Exclusive property of the New York Yankees since 1950. I think 57 was the first year the Giants and the Dodgers played in 54. Sorry, it might have been longer than that. Exclusive property of the New York Yankees for 30 years. And Doc and Daryl took that stuff over. And the 86 Mets are still one of the most famous teams of my lifetime, man. And I appreciate all the off-the-field stuff. It's way more fun and more salacious. But the players those guys were, Strawberry is still one of the best players I've ever seen in my life. He's got the prettiest swing ever. I don't want to hear about Griffey. I don't care about Griffey's swing. The prettiest swing I've ever seen is actually John Olerud, because John Olerud looked like he was barely moving. He's just the prettiest swing I've ever seen. Strawberry is second. Very unique. It's different because he had that huge high leg kick and dropped his hands down. They would never. It's almost like the Sheffield kind of thing where nobody would ever teach anybody to swing a bat like Gary Sheffield, but look what he did with it, you know? Daryl's still one of my favorite players, and we got to focus on the drug use, and I get that, but I wish that somebody would do the baseball story of Doc and Daryl. I'm just focusing on Daryl, man, because Doc, for 2 years at least, was as unhittable. He was Koufax, man. He was as unhittable as anybody has ever been over let's play 2 years. And I like those guys, and I would love to see a story that focused on just how good they were, man. And you could do that whole Mets team, including old cokehead Lenny. because Lenny
Yep.
was a big part. Mookie was a big part. Keith Hernandez was supposed to be on the back end of his career, and I think he finished. God, I think he was second in MVP voting that year. Hernandez was unreal. He's Jerry Seinfeld's favorite player for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Not for nothing.
Yeah, for real, man. But Keith was a bad sucker, man.
And I think, and that's might be part of the reason why they sit down and interviewed Keith, just to kind of take some of the heat are off of Doc and Daryl. Like, wait, we learned this whoring and coking from somebody.
It's like it's a
Yeah, I
very
think Keith was there to be like, hey man, I was there just kind of bring them up and show them how.
hey, you know, it's a,
I guess when they were putting that documentary together, there's a good chance that Lenny was probably incarcerated at the time. Maybe that's why they weren't able to sit down with him.
it's not a man, seriously, man.
Yeah, I know that did go down. I think
Yeah.
he's out now, but that might have been the situation at the time.
Hey, man. But that's a fascinating team, man. But again, it's more of that thing that frustrates me about ESPN in general. It's not just them, but telling actual stories is not what they want to do. They don't care about that. We don't want to talk about good teams. It's the same thing you and I talked about quarantine and everything being locked down, man. Nobody's talking about old school stuff. It's like if I got a sports talk radio show, I want it to be like a barbershop. But see, I'd want it to be like that all the time anyway. We don't want that though. The only guy we can talk about is Michael. Well, LeBron's not as good as Michael, and that's it. That's the only conversation you can have, and it's like that's ridiculous. What we should be talking about is Phillip Rivers putting on his Peyton Manning pants in Indy. You know what I'm saying? I guess I couldn't say that because I hope he does great up there. I really hope he has a real good run up there. But Tom kind of did it last year in New England. He's still looking to do it in Tampa. But I mean about the Peyton Manning pants is people killed him for when he went to Denver. All he's doing is handing the ball off. Hell yeah. That's exactly what Elway did. That's exactly what Manning did because Peyton Manning threw for more yards than anybody ever, and he got a ring, and that's awesome because Dungy got one too. But yeah, he went and got him another ring in Denver by not throwing the ball. Because look, man, the only team in the history of the world that throws the ball when they're ahead is the Patriots, and that's because the league is in bed with them. It's like, hey, man, if you know you're going to win, you don't need to do these things to try and secure the win. It's silly. I'm getting way sidetracked, but anyway, there's plenty of stuff, plenty of old school stuff that could have been talked about, but we don't do that. And there are 30 for 30s that I love. There's a couple that I really, really like, but I almost always just mess with the basketball ones, man. I don't really, excuse me, I don't watch. I mean, the NFL's not really my thing, so I don't watch any of those. What was the one? I'll take that back because they had the one that was Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. And I've never seen it, but boy, that seems interesting. I think that one will be really good. The Two Bills, I'm pretty sure is what they called it.
Yeah. I think that was that one. But that does remind me that I guess one reason why Doc and Daryl was on the middle of the other night is I did wrap up the current crop of the 4 or 5 weeks of them that they did was they did the Long Gone Summer. It's called that was all about Sosa and McGuire, and so that's the most recent one I've seen. And I expected to like that one a lot more than I did, but it is one of those that they did that kind of some kind of monster thing where, man, McGuire shows up just looking like he's not a young man, but he just shows up looking like refreshed and ready to talk as heck. And Sammy was a little bit kooky and weird, but he, just in the past couple of years, I think that's part of the reason why too. Is like, is he going to look weird as crazy as he usually does? Oh yeah, there he is. But and speaking of Griffey, that's one of the things that I had forgotten about that story, just how close he was, how big a part of that story he was, in that he was there with them till late into the season. After the All-Star break, he was hanging with them, and just how I had forgot that they both broke the record.
Oh yeah, 66 and 70, man.
And so I was like, but at the same time, when they're sitting down and they're doing, the interview, you would have thought Sammy had Sammy had the records the way he talks. Like, Jesus Christ, bro. But and then they cut to Martin. He's kind of like, just chill. And it's, I had seen. I think it was I forget what the difference is between, you have the 30 for 30s and you have the E60s that you're kind of like, well, what's the difference between the two? And it's not much, but they had sat down and talked with Sammy recently on one of those, and it didn't go so well because he all, got up and we're good. When Jeremy Schaap finally got to the "Did you do steroids?" question, and it's always the weird reactions that people have to that, whatever situation they're in, and the hard hitting questions coming, and they finally get to it, and their reaction to that, it's always kind of like, it's telling, because the people's reaction is always like, I'm good, I'm a happy person, I'm happy in the world, and there's going all over the world to not say yes or no. I always just get that feeling of, who are you trying to convince? Who are you trying to convince? So, and that's how it. There was the one little interview that with Jeremy Schaap. I think Sammy just kind of, oh, we're done, and he gets up and walks off, and he eventually comes back. But and I think that was his reaction to this one when they finally get to it. Like, hey, I'm good, I'm happy, I'm Shawn Michaels, I found Jesus. It's like, it's not so. But all that being said, you just kind of wanted to turn on the Long Gone Summer to be like, and it's just the way Sammy has changed his look over the past time. You're like, man, this is a kooky dude that I'm just like, it was just kind of, I enjoyed it and dug it, but it's not one of those like, some of them you could rewatch. This is one of those kind. Once you've seen it, go, all right, well that was nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last one I saw that I was really like, I got to get a cut, because I've got several of them. I've got Michael Rappaport's one about the 1973 Knicks is great. I love that one.
When the Garden was Eden.
That one's really good. My favorite one I've ever seen, as far as like watch and rewatch, is a Requiem for the Big East. It's fantastic. Now, ESPN, of course, completely washes their hands and absolves themselves of basically deconstructing the Big East, which they did, because for ACC football, they went and broke up the conference. So that's on them. And of course, hey, what? Yeah, everything's just business till you have to answer for it. Then we didn't do anything. But other than that, history of the Big East and getting to see all those old school coaches, and it's cool. I love that one. It's great, man. But yeah, Long Gone Summer, like all the commercials I saw for it, I'm like, nah. Because basically what happens is, once you guys have flogged Bonds the way you have, I don't want you kissing McGuire's ass. I don't want you going back to talk about how great Sammy was. Screw that, because, oh man, 70 and 66. Wow, how much more can you give us, Big Mac? Well, Barry can give you 3 more. And he can give you about 70 points on the batting average, and he can do stuff that nobody has seen. See, McGuire is what happens when a really good player enhances his performance. Sammy Sosa is what happens when somebody creates their performance out of whole cloth, because that guy was 40-man fodder for the White Sox. Then all of a sudden he got real big, and then he started hopping to first base. Sosa's a prick. I think he always has been. So I'm glad that Mark is cool, because Mark's finally off the hook. He realizes no one's ever going to come after him, so it's like, and good for him, man, because Mark's not a bad dude. He's really not, man. So it's like, but he was really concerned there for a long time, but at least he was smart enough to just get up there and plead the fifth, and I don't want to talk about the past. That's not what I'm here to do. Never talk about the past. And they let him off the hook because he's Mark McGuire. Palmeiro will never get that consideration, and neither will Sosa, because Sosa's problem, like you're talking about in that stupid interview where he sits down and he's like, I have never taken steroids. I'm not taking drugs. I've never done it. I'll take a drug test anytime. And Jeremy Schaap's like, we got a guy right out in the hall. It's over. Instantly, as soon as he says it, Schaap is all like, because Schaap is the biggest gotcha hack in ESPN history. If he didn't have his daddy's DNA, nobody would hire that guy. But because of the name recognition, he knows he's got no ability. So he just pops his head up every now and again and will do the things that other people won't do. And it's like, hey, man, we got this trap for Sosa. Who's going to spring it? And nobody else is going to say yes because they actually have some integrity. Jeremy Schaap can't wait to do it. And don't get me wrong, Sosa's a jerk, and he heck should have known better than to go running his mouth saying, I've never taken them. I'll take a test right now. Okay, let's take a test right now. Wow! How did you not see that coming, man? But Jeremy Schaap versus Sammy
Where's
Sosa.
my interpreter? Let me bring him in.
Dude, Jeremy Schaap versus Sammy Sosa, it's difficult for me to pick. I ain't got no side in that one. I don't like either one of them. Screw those guys.
I guess that's one thing that I was expecting the Long Gone Summer to delve into a little bit more, is just how fleeting that summer ended up being, and how it's like, did it even last 3 years? Like 2001 or 2002, that Bonds just kind of passes the record again anyway.
I'm pretty sure that it was, I think it was 01 was the year that he just destroyed it. But that was, as far as the delving into the summer of 1998 and, what a big deal it was. Burns did a good job in that in the 10th inning. Because I know I say it all the time about the 10th inning, but it's true. 10th inning is one of the only things that actually treats Barry Bonds fairly and basically acknowledges that McGwire had an unbelievable rookie season. He was a Vash brother in '89 who was good, not great. He was good. And then he was nothing. Then all of a sudden he's this jacked up Michelin man, and he's everybody's favorite guy because, oh, Big Mac Land, we can sell cheeseburgers off of this. Sammy Sosa was nothing, ever. He had 98. He won his MVP award, and okay, that's good for you. Barry Bonds was the best player on this planet. And that summer, that very summer, whenever you've got, oh, man, McGwire hit 70. Oh, man, Sosa hit 66. Wow. Barry Bonds became the first and to this day only player in the history of Major League Baseball with 400 home runs and 400 stolen bases, and nobody said peep. And a lot of people will tell you, a lot of amateur psychiatrists, people that are in that movie and that covered baseball will tell you that that's whenever he goes to his, he goes to his, whatever he's staying, goes home or he's on the road and he goes to the hotel, turns on Sports Center, he's 400, and nobody says, and no one's ever done it. To this day, still nobody's done it. Junior didn't do it. Willie Mays didn't do it. Nobody. He's still the only guy ever. And nobody says anything about it. There are people that will tell you that's when Bonds was like, all right then. And that's when he decided, man, I'm going to find me a guy. I'm going to get me some syringes, and y'all going to see some shit. And boy, howdy, he meant it. He meant it. So it's like, I got nothing but love for Barry, man. Barry's still the best player I've ever seen in person. I'll tell you somebody else. I think I mentioned on here before, the other best player I've ever seen in person was not too terrible, maybe 10, maybe 15 years ago, Dion decided he was going to make a comeback. And he was in the Reds minor league system, and I went to, pretty sure it was Louisville he was playing for. And I was in Columbus watching him play, but I think he was playing for Louisville. And it was just, as a 42-year-old, he was just head and shoulders over everybody. That's baseball. It's not even football, the one he's famous for, but it's like, it was shocking how much better he was than everybody. My cousin, actually, who lives in Columbus and took me to that game, he had the same experience with Strawberry when Darryl was rehabbing in Columbus and trying to get back to the show. And eventually made it. Darryl was on, I think he was on 2 of those Yankees World Series teams. And they had 5 of them.
That's a point that somebody made very well in the Doc and Darryl. Like, man, he was good on those Yankees teams.
He was.
Get that.
Absolutely, he contributed. He really did. But when he was on the farm, because at the time for the Yankees especially, man, the way they were run, this wasn't Steinbrenner. This when he was kicked out of baseball. It's the reason they were so damn good. Who was it, man? It was Gene Michael, and I can't remember the names of the guys that were the GMs, but I mean, they had a rule. It was like, Jeter played 3 years. Jeter played 2 years at AAA, knowing he was ready to come up, but it was like, this is how we do it, and it worked. So Darryl was on the farm playing AAA baseball in his mid-30s and just killing people, man. So absolutely, it's like those Yankee teams top to bottom. I appreciate, we all know Bernie and Andy and Derek. They really were terrifying. It's the reason that, as we know, dude, we live in this town, man. The Braves in 1996 were an unbelievable baseball team, but unfortunately, we weren't quite good enough to beat that team. They were, dude,
Yeah.
those Yankees, 99, same thing. Same thing. So, Bobby Cox only won one championship. Tell me which one he should have won. Of the other World Series that we went to, which one should he have gotten? 91? Oh, I agree, but Kent Hrbek got to cheat, so what you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Toronto? We didn't play Toronto, did we? No, we did. That first, no,
For the
yeah,
first time. But
91, 92. That's right. And then they turned around and won it again, so there's that.
yeah.
And then Cleveland's who we beat. And then we played the Yankees twice.
Mhm.
Okay. Which one of those were they supposed to win, man?
Yeah. It was kind of a crapshoot any way
Yeah.
you go.
Murderer's Row, man. I mean, we were better than Minnesota, no doubt, but it's the best World Series ever, man. So, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody had to
Yeah.
lose it. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. Just came up on the short end of the stick on that one.
Best game 7 of all time, man. Jack and
Oh,
John,
heck
man.
yeah.
There's a 30 for 30, by God. Jack and John,
Yeah.
do that. And just do a pitch by pitch. That's what I would do, is sit those guys down and literally remake For Love of the Game, which was Costner's last great baseball movie. Just have them
Yeah.
sit down and tell the stories. That would be a good one. But again, that's more of the thing where it's like ESPN makes me nuts because it's sports, for God's sake. You can make anything an interesting story, but you have agendas. And so if it's not about Tom Brady or Michael Jordan or one of 6 teams, they don't want to do it. And it's like, y'all suck.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I guess, I don't remember how much into it they delved, but in the Long Gone Summer one, that's kind of what was, as you're watching it, you kind of, that's part of what comes back to mind is the day, on the night when everybody was in front of the Senate, and you had kind of McGuire doing his weak yes. I don't want to talk about the past thing, but nobody ever mentioned Sammy, who was just the week before talking pretty fluently, fluent English, shows up with his interpreter and kind of like, I don't. Baseball's been very, very good to me. Is that if he even said anything? It's
Yeah.
like, where's all the outlast for that? But it's one of those
Rafi
kind of deals like, you know,
Rafi did them both a huge favor because he got them both
yeah,
off the hook, man. He got them both
yeah,
off the hook. And as far as Sammy never taking any flack, you know it's because of what his damn jersey said. That is the most propped
I
up,
was,
beloved team this side of Boston, man. And none of those are the same thing. Half that team, Dustin Pedroia can't even spell his name without PEDs, and nobody talks about that guy. And that chump wouldn't have made it to Double A without HGH. Take that to the
yeah,
bank. Pedroia is one of the most overrated players I've ever seen in my life, man. The people want to tell
yeah,
you that Jeter's overrated. Oh, Jeter's propped up because he played for the Yankees. There were better shortstops than Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter's a first ballot Hall of Famer with no question. Pedroia, if Dustin Pedroia played in any other organization, you would not know his name. That's a fact. He's a sawed-off little runt who got lucky as crap that Boston drafted him, because then he gets to sit up there and talk crap about, I don't want to play with these cheaters. I think you should test these people and kick them out of the game. Yeah, because you know your boy Manny showed you that as long as you got that B on your hat, you're never going to have to pee in a cup. What happened to Manny the second he got to L.A.? He got popped, didn't he? The second he got to the Dodgers, he got popped because they didn't test those guys. Man,
yeah,
get out of here. Boston's
yeah,
ridiculous. And the Cubs get the same. The Cubs are the National League version of that. They get the same prop, and it's frustrating and ridiculous. Primarily because you know my big problem is the hypocrisy. It's either a big deal when anybody does it, or it's not a big deal at all. I don't think it's a big deal at all. I think they should all get the blanket Pedroia treatment, but don't let this little punk get away with it. And then he gets, that's the problem, is you know you're bulletproof, so then you want to be little Mr. Flag Waver and talk that crap. I hate that guy. What a prick, man. Especially when you look at those teams he played on that won. What do you have to do? What do you have to do? Nothing. You had Manny and you had Poppy for the first 2. And then also the other thing about that '07 team, she was Rookie of the Year. Oh, my God, Rookie of the Year. Wow. Mike Lowell. Man, you want to see some numbers that will blow your ass away, man. Look at Mike Lowell for the Boston Red Sox playing third base in 2007. And Lowell was such a good player anyway, man. Mike Lowell, where's his 30 for 30? I got to hear about Lance
yeah,
Armstrong and his cancer. Let's talk about Mike Lowe, man. Mike Lowe beat cancer and came back and was an all-star in Miami, and then he wound up going to Boston. And, man, '07, I'm pretty sure he was top 3 for the MVP that year, and he earned it. He was unreal that year, man. Euclid was on that team. That team was loaded outside of that little chump at second. I don't want to hear none of that jump. Freaking Baratek was still there, man. Get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, they were loaded. That '07 team was great.
Like one of those Ellsbury on one of those teams, I think. Something like that.
He might have been on that first one. I know he was on that second one. I'm pretty sure that Pedroia, he might have won 3 rings. I know Boston, when they got rolling, they won a lot. I think he wasn't on the first one. That would have been '04. And then when was it? It was '07 and '09, and boy, I used to know all this, and now I just don't know any of it. But I know that Ellsbury was a huge part of the last Boston team that won a championship. He might have been on that '07 team. I don't know.
I know they were there around the same time, but I always get Ellsbury and Pedroia confused.
Yeah, it does seem like they were kind of like kind of a Biggio Bagwell, kind of a Biggio Bagwell thing, where their careers were similar, periods of time, or similar years, excuse me. A lot of crossover.
I'm bad to do that, regardless. Like,
yeah, me too.
What?
All I know is that Poppy was there for all of them, and that, of course, because I've obviously made it clear I'm not a Red Sox guy, but apparently I have an opinion on everything Red Sox. But I was talking to a buddy of mine. I'm sure I've told you this story, but I was talking to a buddy of mine a long time ago at the liquor store, and this dude that I worked with used to love to get us talking baseball because I hate the Red Sox, and our guy, one of our reps, was from Boston, huge Red Sox fan. And so we got talking about the Red Sox, the all-time Red Sox. And I told him, I was like, brother, I'm going to make you a bet right now that you will not believe, but hear me out, and I think I can convince you. Say, my premise is this. Not only is Ted Williams the single most overrated baseball player in the history of the world. People talk, freaking Michael Rappaport can't wait to tell you how Bill Russell's the most overrated player ever because rings were so easy to come by then, and how come the Knicks didn't get one? Mm-hmm. So Russell's overrated because he won 11 championships. Right city, wrong sport. Ted Williams. Ted Williams made one World Series appearance in his career, and you know what he did when he got there? He hit 200. That's it, because when the lights were on, he disappeared. If that's LeBron, you'd hear about it. If that was DiMaggio, you'd hear about it. But because it was Teddy Ballgame, nobody ever talks about the fact that he played on loser teams his whole career, went to one World Series, and stunk up the joint. So the point I was making to my guy is, you pick the all-time Boston Red Sox lineup, not 1 through 9, but 1 through 10. It's an American League team. I give you a DH, and even with the DH, I'm telling you, I can convince you not to put him on the team. So we got talking about it. And I said, okay, first things first, where do you want to put Ted? As you can put him in left field. You could probably put him in right if you wanted to, or you could put him at first base. Where are you putting him? He's like, well, left field is where he played. I'm like, you're going to put him in your lineup over Yastrzemski because you're crazy if you do. I think you're making a mistake putting him in over Mike Greenwell, but you're definitely making a mistake if you put him in over Yastrzemski. Right field. I want Jimmy Rice. I think that's a mistake. A mistake. I can't put him in center because he wasn't an athlete. And also, if you got center field, you got to have Freddie Lynn. Okay, then. So what are we going to do? We're going to put him at first base. Well, there's a problem at first base because if you want Poppy, he's going to have to either be at first base or your DH. Now, you want Poppy, don't you? Well, we could put Ted Williams at first, and we could have, Poppy be the DH. Okay, you can do that if you want to, but think about the people that you're cutting out at first base. Boston, Mo Vaughn was a pretty great player. Jimmy Fox was an unbelievable player, man. And it's like there's somebody I'm forgetting too, and I can't believe that I can't. Buckner, you gotta have Bill Buckner. I'd take Bill Buckner over Ted Williams. But anyway, that's the point. It's just like left field, no way. There's no way he's getting in there over Yastrzemski. And as far as the DH spot goes, if you're taking that loser who hit 200 in the World Series versus Poppy, who was the architect of the 1-3 comeback, man, if you say so, but I think you're nuts. So that was our conversation. And by the time it was over, he's like, I think you might be right. And I'm like, yes, I am, because you're smart enough to know that Poppy love is a real thing. Throw your arms around Poppy. Embrace him.
That's when I remember when I was a kid and the Red Sox would always come up. I had to remind myself that they hadn't won because all you heard about was Ted Williams and this and you're like
That's it.
and you're like, well, they had to have at least one, and then you go like, no.
People play up that Yastrzemski, excuse me, that Fisk home run
Yeah, like it won the World
like
Series.
it's the biggest thing of all time. And you're exactly right. You then remind yourself that, but they couldn't have won that series, because if they had, I wouldn't have had to hear about 81 years.
Yeah.
Most overrated play in the history of sports. It's so pathetically overrated. And I was talking about
he's Joe Carter or somebody.
Well, that's my point. Joe Carter, Bill Mazeroski. Those are the only two choices for biggest home run in the history of the game, because they're the only two guys that ever won a World Series with one. So which one do you like better? Pick. That's it. The Mazeroski home run is amazing, man. The 1960 World Series is the only time in history that the team that won the World Series over the course of the series was outscored by the team that lost, because all the Pirate wins were by one, and when the Yankees won, they killed them. It's like, how does that happen, man? It's crazy. Yep. And then and then again, baseball history being so much fun, that dovetails into 61 when the Yankees were just hell bent for leather, and Mantle and Maris went so crazy, and they stomped I can't even remember who they played in the series in 61, but they beat the crap out of them because they were all so pissed about 1960. It's like it was at the time it was considered the biggest upset in series history. And people, God, the Yankees were mad. They were mad, and they played like it all the next year. For real, man. They got Ric Flair on them. FB, go FU. It was Ric Flair on Jim Hurd.
Hey, brother.
Man, what did I hear the other day that was so good? Oh, I know. I was listening to God, help me out with his name. I get it wrong all the time, man. It's Craig Gass that does the Kiss impersonations, right? Kiss impressions, right?
Oh, Kiss.com. Yeah, that's great.
I listened to that the other night, and I can't listen to that and not just fall to the floor laughing. It's hilarious every time, man. Hi, Craig. This is Gene Simmons from Kiss. He has to say that on my answering machine, from Kiss, as opposed to, Gene Simmons from Pet Boys. That was awesome. We have hit an iceberg. We have
an iceberg.
That's the best joke in the world, man. We have 3 packages.
Is Kiss going to charge us to get off the boat?
Is Kiss going to charge us to get off the boat?
Off the sinking iceberg in the Bahamas or whatever.
Dude, one of my favorite things about that is before he goes into the spiel about the escape plan tiers. But somebody on there, I think it was Artie. I think it's actually Artie Lang is his response to the Kiss even having a cruise, and he's like, God, this is Gene Simmons just wringing every last dollar out of the Kiss fan base. And I'm like, man, if you're Craig Gass, you have to be sitting there like, just wait. Oh, hang in there, Artie. Hang in there, because you know where you're going. It's like it's such a great thing to say leading into that joke.
Oh my God!
The platinum package.
Yes.
Will get you a spot on the life raft and a photograph with Kiss. I'm sorry, I need to do the whole thing. But if you haven't seen that, look it up. It's I'm pretty sure it's Craig Gass, Kiss, and if the Artie Lang logo shows up on YouTube, that's definitely the best version to listen to, because it's poor Artie he laughs as hard as I do. I mean, dude, he's like has enjoyed it as much as I am.
Tell you about Kiss.com. Man, that was some kid stuff. I guess it has nothing to do with anything, but some fun, a funny story news this past week where they announced the Oscars will be delayed this year by I think it's 2 months. Oh no! And I'm kind of stealing a joke from Kevin Smith a little bit, because that was speculated a while ago on one of his podcasts, and because they're such sticklers for we got to follow the rules, and we're gonna if a movie hasn't been released in theaters and it can't be nominated for an Academy Award, and he's kind of that was going to be one of the fun things that come out of the pandemic. It's like, all right, we're coming into an Oscar season where there's a pretty good chance that we're going to have the best picture be Sonic the Hedgehog.
Seriously, dude.
So, but so who knows what'll end up happening now? But it's going to buy us some time to get these theaters running. We'll count a drive-in, I guess.
I know Sonic the Hedgehog is the new. For me personally, Sonic the Hedgehog is the new Last Jedi, because I had my conspiracy theory about the Last Jedi, which I'm still convinced I'm right about, and nothing will ever change my mind. So there's that. To catch you guys up, in case you don't know, my conspiracy theory about the Last Jedi is it was genuinely surprising to me how many people just went buck wild after Rian Johnson's neck. Like, he had creative control and he ruined Star Wars, and I can't believe that he ruined Star Wars. And I'm like, it's Disney and Star Wars. If you think a first time or a new young buck, wet behind the ears, director in Hollywood is getting carte blanche and final
give
cut.
them what for?
He is getting final cut on the middle Star Wars movie, and Disney's as surprised as you. But oh my God, we can't believe this is what he made. I can't believe how many people bought that. Yeah. I can't believe it. But I did make a bet with a couple of people that hated Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson, he's the devil. Rian Johnson's awful. I'm like, keep that name in your mouth. Remember the boy's name, because I promise you, whatever he comes out with next, wait and see. Wait and see what happens. And what happened to Knives Out? Critical success. Over the moon not production, but what's the word I'm looking for, man? Promotion. Promotion. Everybody lost their mind over it. He got nominated for an Oscar, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how Hollywood treats the people that ruined Star Wars. He took a dive so Disney and Kathleen Kennedy wouldn't get killed over that junk.
It's obvious by the Knives Out cast. People are still lining up to work with the guy.
Exactly, because
so he's doing something right.
He's Mr. Insider now, and it's like, if y'all don't think he's not, if you didn't think he was doing Disney a favor, look at the fallout from the next thing he put out and just how positive it was. Because even if you didn't like it, everybody else did. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. And Sonic the Hedgehog now is my new Hollywood conspiracy thing, because I got news for you. If you see that stupid toothy piece of crap thing that they released. Well, they had to pull Sonic back, and they had to like redesign the whole thing because, boy, the internet just went so crazy. The internet did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
That was never, ever going to be released as the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, ever. You'll never convince me otherwise. They literally put that junk out there because they got in underwater with Jim Carrey because he's still very expensive to be in movies, and it's like, what a turd we've got here. Okay, what are we going to do? Okay, let's stab people in their nostalgia, and they'll lose their mind over the teeth, and then we can come up with something slightly better, but they'll convince themselves it's infinitely better.
Wasn't as bad.
this movie, why the movie's not that bad? Get at it, y'all. I can't believe people got snowed on that. It's like just, especially if it's, well, Twitter, do your thing. Oh, that's by design. Don't believe anything you read on Twitter, and don't think for 1 second that stupid little human tooth thing was going to be Sonic the Hedgehog. They had a turd, so they put it out there to you as this first turd. Then they cutened the turd up a little bit and added a little, let's make it more like Baby Yoda. And it's like, okay, that worked. That's all people needed. That's all folks needed.
That's what Daddy said, shit'll buff,
Seriously. What a rock, man. This is such garbage. My goodness gracious me.
You mean the internet did not come together and collectively say, let's give it a chance? Kristen Stewart does kind of look like Princess Diana.
They knew exactly what was going to happen, because unfortunately what happens on the internet is people who are nobodies think they actually have a modicum of power. You can convince them to do any damn thing. Yeah. Anything. It's like you will psych yourself out for anything. How many people that were never going to go watch Sonic the Hedgehog then decided to go watch it because they changed the design of it? Get out of here, man. This stuff is stupid, man.
Heck yeah. Got that going down.
Yeah, man, serious. That junk is ridiculous, man. But it would be funny if it won Best Picture.
Oh, yeah, man. That'd
But
be great.
it's gonna be. I'll tell you what though, they'll have a hoot and a holler with a. Well, if it's not released in the theater, it's not a movie. Okay, so officially now you're going to basically just go ahead and tell the world that the Oscars are just best Netflix shit now, right? Because if we're getting out of theaters again, they got around that too by buying their one theater, and it was like, okay, it's in the theater, Hondo, and we've been trying to get around that, and it's like, look, I appreciate why Hollywood despises something like Netflix as much as they do. I get it. I totally get it. It's twofold. One, creators that you used to own, you don't get to anymore. And secondly, and here's the big one, it was the whole, oh man, who the heck was it? It was AMC, and I can't believe I forgot what studio it was. I'm sorry, man, but one of the movie studios, has bypassed theaters altogether and just going straight streaming. And the industry don't like that. Industry don't like the sound of that. And it's like, this is why it's such a big deal. It's got to be in a theater because Netflix is going to take over. You know it is, man. It's like, okay, well, every now and again, we put crap tons of money into a movie that we know is going to make a lot of money, but we can also have the prestige of winning the Oscars. And it's like, oh, no. The divide now between going for the bucks and going for the artistic integrity, that gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And any more you try and put a Titanic up for Best Picture, people are going to crap on it. Yeah. So you either have to go out and you got to pay the Netflix people to come make your movies, which they won't. And because, again, it's more of that, this is that whole all elite thing that we've talked about forever. And it's funny, people are finally catching on to where it's like, if it's just about how much you can make, okay. But for some people, that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's not how much you can make, it's what you can make. And I don't mean financially, I mean what you can create. That's where Netflix has it over all the big studios. So it really is appropriate, like we've talked about, that it's basically Disney over here and everybody else over here. Because that's okay, man. Disney churning out the stuff that's what you want, man. That's cool. So let's divide it up. That's all right. That's too, I hate to say two because it just sucks so bad to reduce things down to two, man. Look at Capitol Hill for no further evidence than that. Yeah. But as far as like, okay, we're making movies that are product. Hey, man, Disney's great at that. And I don't mean great at making money. They are good at making money, obviously, but they make good stuff too. I mean, it's not just that they're supremely successful and popular. A lot of that crap is real good too. Some of it ain't, but hey, man, ain't nothing. Nobody hits a winner all the time. Nothing's great all the time. So, okay, cool. Let's do this and let's do this. I love it. Sounds good to me, man.
That was one of the things that came out of speaking of AMC. They just got reminded, like maybe they don't need us as much as we think they do. When I think it was the Trolls movie did that thing where like we're gonna just go direct to everybody.
Absolutely.
And when you heard what they were charging, you're kind of like $20 to stream, but then you're kind of like, and I think it was even the movie studio was like, listen, I know it's not socially acceptable to have a bunch of kids over at the house. This ticket for all these kids that you can bring over at the theater could be $100.
Yeah,
we're charging you $20. Want to give it to us?
Yeah, seriously, man.
And I think it was far more successful than I thought it was going to be, and it's far more successful than AMC thought it was going to be. Now they're all in a huff, like, oh! And to be fair, I mean the majority of what movie theaters are left to make money off of is concessions, because with what the studios charge to have them run the movie, they ain't making nothing off that. So, but at the same time, I thought AMC was kind of like, I had my first experience of going to a mall this week, and all you hear is about how they're dying, they're just going away, and you go out to one, you're like, what are y'all talking about? I can't even find a parking spot.
It's that thing that you and I talked about when COVID-19 was just this looming thing. Don't get me wrong. I know it sounds like all conspiratorial and bullshit like that. COVID-19 is a real thing. It's a real disease, and there are 100,000 people who are really not here anymore. So I don't mean it that way. But in the sense like I've talked about, where it covers a multitude of sins for a lot of businesses that are dying anyway, to now magically, what could we do? It was the COVID. what could we do? Your ass was going out of business anyway because capitalism has died. D-I-E-D, died. And that was the whole point. It was this big worldwide distraction, and we'll be hearing about it for the rest of our lives. Oh my God, COVID-19 just wrecked the economy. Now, the economy ate itself. It died, and you needed a big-ass distraction, and apparently Donald Trump being president wasn't quite big enough. So, there we go. And that's the whole thing. Well, COVID-19, it's just the flu. Yeah, it's just the flu until you need a distraction. Yeah. It's all that. I'm ridiculous on that, but I'm getting tired of this stuff because it just makes me angry because you'll have people who tell you it's not serious, don't take it serious, masks are overrated, you don't need to wash your hands, this is silly, right up until you suggest like, oh, you know what, maybe you're right, maybe there's something else going on. What do you mean? Capitalism's wonderful, what are you talking about? And it's like, now you need to decide, because it can't be both. Mm-hmm. See what I mean? It's like, that stuff makes me crazy, man. But yeah, as far as like all the businesses that are boarded up and whatnot, this takes me back to whoever the heck it was. It was, if you can't, last a couple of weeks without a paycheck, you must not be any good at money. Yeah, well, you know what? If your business can't handle a couple of months off, I guess capitalism if capitalism can't survive a couple of months without customers, maybe that system doesn't work. Yeah. Ridiculous, man. Yeah. But yeah, all the like the movie theater here in Carrollton looks like it's sold.
I can't tell if it's coming back or not.
Dude, and it's fine with me if it doesn't, because I hate theaters anyway, man. I like the idea. The only positive thing about the only positive thing about movie theaters is that it's about the only hour and a half where nobody can get in touch with you. And when you explain to them, oh, I'm sorry, I was in a movie, they don't,
no questions are asked.
Yeah, at least they don't act pissy about it. They might get mad about it, but they don't act that way. And that's it. Nothing else. There is no other excuse for being out of touch for any reason ever, and it's frustrating. But, man, like I said, I'm like rearranging my room. That's why I've got my new background. I'm moving everything around. I've got room in here now. What I didn't realize is this. Back where I used to live, I had this great chair. It was huge, so it wouldn't work where I live now. So I don't have it anymore. I had this chair, and I used to sit in my chair and just watch movies. And it hadn't even occurred to me that I haven't been doing that lately because I really didn't have anywhere to sit. My bed basically was doubled as my sofa. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why, but just sitting on my bed and watching movies didn't work. But now I got a chair. So first thing I did was I found this, I know I've mentioned cheese on here several times now, the Paste Magazine 100 Best French Movies Ever. And I'm like, hey, this is cool. Let's watch some of these. There's one called Holy Motors. And I was like, yeah, I'll check that out. Why not? And it's, there's really not a good one-word description for it. It was great. I loved it, man. I mean, it is completely... If narrative coherence in a script is your thing, don't ever let anybody con you into watching Holy Motors because they're playing a trick on you. It literally looks like a guy took a piece of paper and just said, okay, the first 5 ideas you come up with, write them down. Don't think about it. Don't double think. Don't erase. Don't backspace. Nothing. The first ideas. Just go. Okay, there's your 5 ideas. Go make a movie out of those. Because there is no connection. There's no logic. There's no narrative. It doesn't work that way. It's great. It was totally great. Basically what it plays like is it's this dude in this limousine. And in the back of the limo, it's basically a dressing room. Like he starts out and he's talking on the phone with his boss and all this stuff, man. Then he pulls out this wig and he starts combing it out. And eventually the car pulls in and he hops out, and it's this little old, like, kind of hunchback lady. And she's in the park, and she's got her little cup, and she's telling stories about, it's just interesting. But literally, it's like, I said 5, I think it's actually about 9. But it's just this one actor playing all these different roles. None of the stories have anything to do with each other. It's not like that. That's not what it's about. But if you want to see, like, just free-form movie making, it's great, man. But only if it doesn't need to make any sense. You dig it. I know you'd be cool with it because we've watched enough Lynch together to where it's like, in the opening scenes when the guy's in the limo, I mean, it looks like Mulholland Drive. So there's a lot of that quality to it as well. But some of the stories are funny, and some of them kind of border on horror, and some of them are just funky. But it was good, man. Kylie Minogue shows up, and the review I watched was talking about how, oh, Kylie's in it, and then she burst into song, and I didn't expect her to burst into song, and it was cool. I mean, she starts singing, it's okay. But I promise I won't ruin it. But what I will say is the scene that she sews up for is really, really good, and the song is neat and it's pretty, and the place they shot it was real cool. But it's where the scene goes after she's done with the song and after they have their parting. I promise I won't ruin it. But it's like what that scene turned into. I'm like, this is great. It was cool. It was a very cool movie, but I got lucky to just pluck that. But anyway, at that point, I'm sorry, I got way sidetracked. But I got my chair in my room and I watched my movie the other night, and I'm like, this is awesome, man. I've missed this. So I'm glad to know that now having a movie watching chair is a vital component in my living space. I'm happy.
That's what's up.
Yeah, cool.
Man. Mentioned AEW, and for some reason, this is one of the things that came to my mind after watching Dynamite this week. Is like, I'm glad that somebody finally is doing that thing where if you're going to go he and haw for the past, what's it been 4, maybe even 5 years now, like who's going to be Sister Abigail? We'll do it for you.
Let me tell you something about Abaddon, brother.
Mm-hmm.
I posted a picture of Abaddon on my Instagram, which I didn't shut Instagram down, but I took it off my phone because I just spent too much time on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I started that piece of crap back up to post a picture of Abaddon.
Mm-hmm.
And quite literally all I said was, my God, yes. Because here's the thing, and I love it so very much. You don't have Charlotte, and you didn't sign Tessa because you wouldn't give her the open-ended contract, so you ain't going to have the best women wrestlers on earth. So get the most unique ones. Yeah. Because WWE, for as good as they do with The Fiend and with Bray, they're not going to have a girl like that. Nikki Cross is as close as you'll get. And Nikki Cross is cute as a button, man. But that's part of it. Abaddon is genuinely horrifying to the point that it's like, I cannot believe that this photographs like this. This isn't lighting. Yeah. This isn't makeup. This is in a full-on BAM arena, and it looks like The Living Dead. I love it. I was so impressed. I was absolutely blown away. And AEW, to be honest with you, had stuck their nose in front anyway. And it's not NXT's fault. NXT's ultimate problem, their ultimate undoing, is the fact that no matter what they do with their roster, Vince can always stick his damn nose in it and undo whatever you're watching. And it sucks. Now, to be fair, the NXT banner is more important than any of the individual talent. It really is. As long as it's NXT, I'm good and I will enjoy it. But AEW started to kind of nudge out in front and get out there a little bit because there's a couple of guys I'm really excited about and interested in, primarily the Revival or whatever the hell you want to call them now. Yeah. But Abaddon, I'm like, oh, crap. I loved it. I was so impressed.
Yeah. That's one of those. It was one of those kind of little George Lucas from The Whitest Kids, what? moments for me. I was like, holy shit.
so good. Because I thought the whole, grudge crawl to the ring, I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then she pops up, and it's as soon as I saw the blooded out eye, I'm like, oh, I'm in. Because I love that stuff. I know that the supernatural stuff doesn't do it for everybody, but you've known me a long time, man. I've always liked The Undertaker. I always thought that was interesting. I think Kane is cool. But primarily it is my obsession with Muta, with all of the variations of Muta. Not just the Great Muta, but, you get like Demon Muta. And I love that stuff. I think it's awesome. So as soon as you have like a horror movie prop who's actually alive and a wrestler, I'm like, oh, I'm 1,000% in, man.
Yeah,
buddy.
That was my initial reaction to it. Is like, for all this time, won't there be a Sister Abigail? Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be this week? Is it going to be this person? Like, we'll do it for you.
We're cool. We got horror movie characters. So somebody went Bucky on that. I can't remember who it was now, man. But it's all like, apparently there's some. I don't think it's Stardom, because Stardom is Japan, but it seemed like it was a Japanese girl working in Shimmer. I was going to say, what's the American promotion that's all women? And it was basically calling the new girl, calling Abaddon a knockoff, and it's like, nah, Abaddon's had this gig for years, and I'm like, awesome. But the only thing that bummed me out about it is, what a good way if you had built Nyla Rose as like the unbeatable, unkillable, unstoppable tank, what a good way to introduce that character. Because if you have this crazy hell demon who comes in and beats the unbeatable monster, yeesh, that would work, man. But at the same time, Abaddon, as most monsters in wrestling go, maybe you don't want her to have that title none too soon, because how do you get it off? So, okay, that's cool. All right, go on, y'all. Because that was the problem with Nyla, man, is it's like, if you're going to give her the belt, you should have left it with her, man. It's a bummer, man. I thought Hikaru Shida and Rio would have been fine. That would have been totally okay, man. But it's whatever, man. It's okay. The women's division, it's not great, but let's be honest, man. Outside of WWE, there's not a great women's division. There's not one. So I'm hoping that. I think Britt being on the sidelines helps, and I don't, and that sounds really negative, and I don't mean it as negative as it sounds. It's just her promo stuff's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's really funny. So it's going. She's doing.
Sometimes you can find your niche in a bad time.
Totally, like man. That. Yeah, I agree totally. She's really very, very funny, and I've enjoyed the crap out of all the vignettes. I think that's really cool. The wrestling's all right, especially when it's the Japanese girls, because they're vets. I mean, dude, they've all been around a hot minute, so it's like, oh yeah, y'all know what you're doing, so this is fine. But AEW, I still skip some stuff, but there are things I like. The Revolt, Revival, FTR, whatever the hell they're called. Hey man, if they're in it, I'm in. I love those guys. I thought them and Butcher and Blade was fun. I had no problem with that. Butcher and Blade I'm okay with anyway. I still am holding out hope that the Dark Order will become something. I had this thought the other day, man. This is probably just tying into, I know I've talked a long time about how I think the best angle WWE could possibly do would be to reveal why the NXT pay-per-views are called TakeOver. And basically literally have Triple H strong-arm Vince out of the company. And, of course, you can't do that because Vince is Vince and he's got too much of an ego and he's got to win. So it's like, okay, stick around and ruin your company. But if I'm AEW and you got the Dark Order, right? What's the name of that YouTube show they run?
It's After Dark.
It's Dark. AEW Dark. And I would literally start putting basically feelers in there to show you why it's called that. And basically I would have my YouTube channel turn into, remember the whole, like, basically do the NWO sold out, but actually do it right. And literally have AEW Dark be basically this scouting cabal for the Dark Order. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You
could totally make that work, man. That'd be cool.
Heck yeah.
And of course, now that they're recruiting Colt Cabana, excuse me, the new rumor is CM Punk's going to show up and he's going to be in the Dark Order because Colt Cabana.
Oh yeah.
Colt Cabana's going to be the one that brings him in. And I'm like, let me tell you something. If Colt Cabana and CM Punk are pulling a work on wrestling, it's the greatest work in the history of the world because they have been so consistent on how much they hate each other now that good for them. Good job, y'all.
Yeah. Going through something like that, I imagine would be legit eat.
Yeah, good job, y'all. You pulled it off. You definitely pulled it off.
I didn't have to use Jim Cornette's lawyer to get down with it.
Yeah, apparently, old Stephen P. News getting a lot of work here lately. Apparently, gonna need that, brother. Yeah, that whole thing, I mean, as far as the Me Too apocalypse in pro wrestling, man, the past week has been. We'll discuss that. I'll do Cornette first, and then we can discuss the overall picture. But the Cornette thing is interesting, man, because of course that was his first thing. Is like, oh, that's what the lawyers are for. But I don't. We gotta wait and see. I don't know enough about it to even know one way or the other.
I don't know specifics of what all is going on. Just hearsay. I haven't heard much of that.
The only thing I know about it is that Cornette's a name that people can throw out and immediately get buzz. So if you're throwing the name out there to get buzz, that makes sense. It makes sense. But the one interesting thing I thought was the whole, well, that's what lawyers are for, and we'll get Stephen P. New involved and la-di-da. And I don't know who it was. It was whoever the kid on the studio call with Kenny Bolin or whoever it was. His reaction, I thought, was fascinating. I'm like, that's interesting. That's an interesting take, because his whole thing before Cornette even responded, it was all like, so basically with what we're talking about here, man, Stephen P. New's going to want to get involved. And boy, Stephen, I'm telling you, do it. Get involved. I want you to take us to court because, boy, you put my guys under oath. you're gonna find out some things you don't want to. And I was like, well, that's a hell of a way to play it.
Yeah.
That's a good angle, but it's all at the same time. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, man,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll let the evidence come out and find out what's up. But ultimately, like I said, the main thing with Cornette is it's such an easy way. It's what Cornette does with Kenny and the Bucks. They're good names to use to get people to react one way or the other. Cornette's the exact same thing. If you want a reaction one way or the other, invoke his name. So we'll see. We'll find out about that. But as far as like top to bottom and what everybody's up to, you go first, brother. I got lots of thoughts about this stuff myself, but I didn't mean.
No, that's just one of those kind of things. It's like you might. It's hard to have a quasi wrestling discussion show and not bring it up. But I just, that's all I know about it is what bits I've heard from stories that come up on podcasts to listen to, and just what little bit that I have heard, everything I have heard. Like, I hope that's not true. I don't want to believe that about anybody, but that's kind of, I'm still in that phase of finding out everything. So I really don't know.
I can dig it, and I think that's a good way to look at it. Is because none of us know anything, man. Nothing's been litigated yet. Nobody's really done anything, or nobody's proven anything, or we'll find out one way or the other. I guess my overall basic reaction is something that we talked about with Me Too and Weinstein and all that stuff. Is like entertainment is a absolutely scuss-fuckery business. It's awful. Well, think about places you've worked. Have you ever worked with a woman that? Let me not say a woman, because I don't know, man. I don't know if I know anybody that hasn't had some experience. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But we work with girls all the time. We work with women all the time, and even if it's like just simple eye making or crap talking from management, that's everywhere I've ever worked where dudes were the bosses. That happened. It happened everywhere, and so that's like horse crap Toys R Us jobs. If you're somebody that's hoity and thinks you actually have power over somebody, you know what I'm saying? That stuff is so frustrating, but it's like, I totally believe all of this, because on a smaller scale, as far as like small little town, here's the job, but boy, inside this building, I'm the man. So you come to me. I've seen that.
Yeah.
So if you want to tell me that people in pro wrestling exploit other people, I totally believe you, because pro wrestling's entertainment, and boy, howdy. Entertainment's a scuzzy business. It really is. Weinstein kind of carried the flag, but he's far from the first, and unfortunately won't be. Hopefully he'll be about the last. Hopefully that's where we're going with this stuff. But people always get huffy when you say believe women, because you're right. Some people do lie about stuff, but you know what? This blanket wanting to think that all of the girls are just out for attention. You really think that? You get the hell out of here. I just think that's insane. The blanket statement one way or the other is ridiculous, but I'll tell you this point blank. I am a hell of a lot more likely to believe a woman, considering how much crap women take if they talk about this stuff. Oh, I'll believe you a hell of a lot more before I was. She's just trying to get famous off my name. Who the hell are you? You a GM at Toys R Us? What name do you have? You know what I'm saying? So that stuff makes me nuts. The Matt Riddle stuff I think is very interesting, because the little bit that I've heard about it, the lady that's making these accusations against him has already had the cops called on her about 4 times by the Riddle family for stalking him. Now, that's the story as I understood it. Maybe I didn't understand it. Maybe I didn't get it. But from what I heard, or what I was getting from that, they've got lots of history, and so we'll see about that. Jack Gallagher is up the creek, because WWE 86'd him and didn't say one thing about future endeavors either. So it's like, okay, Jack, somebody's got some dirt on that guy. Mm-hmm. But other than that, look, man, hey, let's investigate and find out. But this whole, too many times things get investigated and nobody. I guess my initial reaction was, I can't believe how many people in any walk of life are so stupid that they don't realize that in 2020, being a politician or being a priest are the only way you get away with this stuff. Back in the day, having your little business card that said you were executive VP of fill in the blank and, sausage stuffing or whatever, don't mean nothing anymore, man. All that means is you got more money for me to take from you in a lawsuit. And if you go after them, best of luck to you, sister. I hope you get as many of them zeros as you can, man, because I can't stand that stuff. I really don't like, for lots of reasons, but it's just, like you said, primarily, I've already said way too much, but, got to wait and see on some of this. Like I said, Jack's had it. I don't think that Jack got Enzo'd. A lot of people, Enzo didn't really do anything. Enzo, yeah, you're right. Enzo's unemployed because he sucks at his job.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't do what people said he did, so okay, good for him. Go rap me a song.
Yeah.
But with Enzo in your back pocket, and you're gonna do Jack like you did him, I'm like, that's scary. That seems to me like there must be some massive evidence floating around, and we'll see. But again, as far as Corny, hey, we'll see, man. I don't know. I don't know anything about him personally or his wife, man. So we'll see. But ultimately, wherever that one lands, I guess it won't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody in any position of power exploiting their underling employees, that doesn't surprise me either, man.
Yeah, yeah. Par
Because,
for the course.
Oh, absolutely. Any of us that have ever had a job in America, we definitely know that financially. But those of us that don't have vaginas, hey, I'll take your word for it. Because in living here and seeing the way that people are economically exploited in the workplace, if you're a woman, of course you're going to get economically exploited. But there's this whole other avenue of opportunity for someone that's going to be a prick to you in this way. Why not? It's just, I'm so sick of this junk. Oh my God. And my other biggest, massive, hugest frustration about all this junk is the timing. Because we were actually having some really good conversations in America. We were talking about real serious, heavy stuff, but by all means, let's stop the presses and talk about wrestling. It's dumb because for most people, that wouldn't even be a thing. It's just that I'm like way too involved in my own life and I like wrestling. So it's all like, oh, Lord, y'all are just, this is ridiculous. But at the same time, I guess it's kind of a situation where, sorry, the wound's been exposed. So now we've got like the, what am I trying to think of, man? I'm sorry, man. Peroxide. Yeah. We're cleaning the sucker out.
Anesthetic.
And it sucks, but you got to get all of it. So, okay, so if we're in the process of cleaning out the wound, by God, let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. Let's dig until we get all the rot out, and then maybe we can be better when we kick out at 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's ridiculous, man. It's just an awful lot of things that are not pretty. We're having discussions about an awful lot of things right now. And maybe, I'm like, I hate to sound so like bedraggled and tired by it, because maybe this is the way to do it, because never done it before. Well, we talked about it before, man. Like with people, violent protests gets you nothing. Well, the other kind ain't got you nothing up till now, so let's see. But it's funny. Somebody made a great point about the violent protest. People are still in the streets in every city in this country, but ain't no violence. Now that people exposed, it was undercover cops doing that stuff. So see, now that people know what to look for in the videos they're watching, all of a sudden the violence magically stops and we don't want to talk about it. Yeah. It's that thing we talked about earlier, man. It's not information. The news media has no interest in informing you of anything. They just want to sell you crap. That's all it's there for. The news only exists for the commercials that take place between Don Farmer and Monica Kaufman. That's it.
It is still a TV show.
That's it, which is
Don't
ridiculous.
Forget that.
Well, that's one of the things. It's fascinating you say it that way, because that's the thing about the newsroom. When they put the newsroom on HBO, is they made it very, very clear. They gave you the history of network news. And quite literally, the rule was that 1 hour a day, whatever you want to make, whatever you want to sell, whatever products you can pitch, that's fantastic. But in exchange for our airwaves, 1 hour a day, people will be given news. No ads, no commercials, no pitches, just information. And boy, we got away from that real quick, didn't we? Mm-hmm. And that's when the news media died. The second it turned into just another capitalistic endeavor in this country, that's when the news stopped being anything. Because that was the whole point. Back in the day, hey, man, you've got the network, it's fine. You've got the airwaves, make all the money you can. But 1 hour a day, it's ours, and we're going to tell people stuff. And no commercials. And, boy, they got rid of that real quick. And it's like, yep, that's when you killed it.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Sorry, y'all. I'm
Man,
obviously very frustrated by everything right now. And again, I'm with you on like all the. I guess my thing with the wrestling thing is like, well, who's next? Because I just got to keep
that's,
on rolling.
man, that's talk about, and I think that's kind of when all the Harvey times out stuff was going on. That I think we said it then, like, oh, wait till this shows its we're just ugly head in the wrestling world. Maybe that's what's coming.
Entertainment top to bottom. That's exactly the point we were making. Is that
Mm-hmm.
all entertainment fields, because particularly in this specific regard, Hollywood, the silver screen, Tinseltown, woohoo. It's a line that you and I use all the time. Whenever anyone's reviewing like a TV show or a movie and they start talking about, oh man, so and so, such an attractive young actress, la di da. You said actress, didn't you? You know what I mean? It's like, look at people that go into that business. You have to have a certain amount of physical charm to be an actress, because ain't nobody gonna put you in a movie if you're not. So
Yeah.
you're taking these exquisitely pretty people and saying, okay, you can have this job, but only if A, B, and C and D. Who the hell knows what kind of creeps are going to fill in A, B, and C and D? I guess my point is, again, when you tell me who those people are, I'll believe you. I'll
Yeah.
believe you, because it's an exploitable situation. The job period, like we said, jobs that we've had, women we've worked with, you're in a position to exploit people. You see it all the time, man, all the time. So now if we're talking high paying jobs that are glamorous, of course. Oh, that was my other thing that I wanted to mention, because people are talking now about, well, a lot of these situations sound like relationships that went sideways, and
Mm-hmm.
having a bad breakup isn't criminal. And you're right, it's not. Having a bad breakup's not criminal. But the biggest thing that jumped out to me when they were, I think it was Wrestle Talk, was doing the rundown of all the different people with all the different accusations. I think the thing that frustrated me and concerned and just kind of wigged me out the most was how many people would come out and say, this was a consensual relationship. I began the relationship with my student. It was a student in my class. And it's like, okay, so you're 25 years old and you're going out with a 17-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it
Red
might
flag.
not be criminal, but it might be. In the UK,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not criminal because all this stuff is going on in the UK. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's happening here too. It's just all the stuff we're
Mm-hmm.
hearing about is going there. Okay, maybe it's not criminal, but that don't mean it's not wrong. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I don't understand. When I was 25, I wasn't hanging out with 17-year-olds. I don't understand the appeal. Don't get me wrong, I get it with the whole like, oh my God, the obsession with the young girls and yeehaw and woohoo, make you feel like a man. Why are you even interested in somebody that's not done growing up yet? A
Mm-hmm.
17-year-old is not who they're going to be in 3 months, much less six, much less at 18, much less at 21. And
Mm-hmm.
25 to 21, maybe you can get away with that. Unless she's a student at your fucking wrestling school. If you're picking
Yeah.
up students at your school, you're gross.
Yeah.
You're gross. I forget about the criminal stuff. The criminal stuff, we'll litigate that, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it and we'll have us an answer. But how many dudes would just open air admit, well, I didn't do this stuff. She's making that up. That we had a relationship. Yes, yes, we went out. We went out with each other. I was the teacher and she was the student. Well, then you done effed up right there, brother. You lost.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? It's like, I don't know why anybody thinks that's okay. At
I
the
think
very least, you're a complete idiot.
the Chris Hardwick stuff was a good example of somebody showing like, yeah, I might have been a ball bag in a relationship, and I can prove that just as much as I can prove, that this wasn't what the big uh, moment that it was intended to be, but that was a situation of a relationship gone bad. Like, look, I might have been a bad boyfriend with this group of texts, but it doesn't make me a criminal, So there are examples out there like that, but I don't know. I don't know enough about any of these situations to know what's going on. But hearing stories start with, "Oh, she was a student at my school." Like, oh yeah, that sounds believable as hell.
That's where I'm at too. It's like,
Mhm.
bro, you can stop right there, man. You can stop right there. Like I said, if it's not criminal, I think being that stupid should be criminal. Is what I'm saying. It's like you are an idiot if you are going. Exploitation drives me up the wall. You're a teacher at this school. It's a pro wrestling school. Clearly, people are trying to get in this business and they really want it. How bad do you want it? That's disgusting. I don't give a shit. If you're not a criminal, you're a creep and you suck. And if you did do something against the law, boy, howdy, I hope people find out. I hope we find out real quick. That stuff makes me insane, man. It's like, I don't know, man. Opportunity, people just exploiting each other. I mean, I'm sick of this, man. I'm just tired of this junk.
Yeah, man. Let's see. What, before this battery dies again.
Yeah, we done killed it now. Thank you, man.
It's been sending me the little message like, I hear you.
I'm exhausted.
Please, God.
Oh, God.
Man. Happy Father's Day to y'all, by the way.
Take it easy. Thank you for watching.
As was that?
You.